Hey, good evening. I'm really happy to have you here. My name is Daniel. I was a professional opera singer and beatboxer, and tonight we are returning back to Erik Grönwall performing Who's the Winner. So, it's obviously been a minute since we've listened to Erik, and this was a recommendation from Christy over on my Patreon. I always appreciate you recommending me things to listen to, and if anybody's interested in joining my Patreon, there's a link in the description below. I always take those recommendations first before heading to YouTube and finding my own music, and there is a long list of things that I'm trying really hard to stay on top of, but it is a little difficult because there's videos I want to make and a lot of the requests, and I'm trying really hard to make those videos, and when I do make those videos, sometimes they don't always turn out well, so I'm trying really hard to make sure that I'm constantly communicating with all of you to make sure that these videos are getting out on time, or reasonably well, and all that jazz. So with all that said, Erik, great vocalist, let's just get into it.
Call the game. The pieces are on the floor. No winners anymore. Out of time. We were proud, chasing a starry sky, but dreams couldn't justify our last goodbye. You win some, lose some. Cheer or cry. Who's the winner now? Out of this fight, the winner now. Lost in the night. No more lines to cross, no races to be run. 'Cause now we've lost our crown. Who's the winner? Heads held high, even when odds were low. We ran with nowhere to go. Out of mind, you played your hand, but all I could do was stall. A draw that would break us all and cross the line. You win some, lose some. Cheer or cry. Who's the winner?
Yeah!
Now, out of this fight, the winner now. Lost in the night. No more lines to cross, no races to be run. 'Cause now we've lost our crown. Who's the winner now? Who's the winner? The winner. The winner. The winner. Win some, lose some.
Interesting.
Cheer or cry. Who's the winner? The winner now. Lost in the night. The winner now. Gone with the light. No more lines to cross. No races to be run. 'Cause now we've lost our crown. Who's the winner? Who's the winner? Who's the winner? Now we've lost our crown. Who's the winner? Now.
Something that was immediately gripping to me about that piece was actually not so much of the vocals, even though there's a lot of elements of the vocals that I really want to get into that were expertly done, but it's more of the pacing of the piece, where in the beginning, the tone is set immediately, and you get this powerful energy at a mezzo forte or a medium loud to loud sound, and you just feel this power, this strength resonating from him, which is awesome. And that's really dangerous to do in a song, mainly because it leaves very little room to grow. But to compensate for that, he does some really unique things in the vocal line, especially in the chorus, where on the primary words that are the title itself, winner would be an example, where in the first few times we hear it, heck, even in the middle, he tapers the end of them instead of carrying them like he does later on. And that's the growth that we really want. That's the growth that we really need to really feel the piece constantly expanding outward. So that way he can start strong, start powerful, and it still feels like we're growing with him. And that's really, really great because the piece doesn't feel stagnant that way. Regardless of how amazing the piece is in the beginning, if we're not feeling a certain momentum, a certain flow, if we're not actually going somewhere, regardless of how strong the piece is, it's going to feel stagnant and we're going to lose interest. So the fact that he finds these smaller details and utilizes those details in order to still make the piece feel like we're growing and expanding while starting strong, that's a really, really great choice there. That's so interesting. You don't see a lot of artists utilize small details to make the piece still feel like it's expanding and growing. It's usually the old reliable formula: start small, grow big, return back to a small level, or start small, grow big, and keep growing until the end. But here we're just starting strong and we're growing through the small details, the minute details, and I really, really appreciate that. So to further pinpoint what I mean by that, let's just jump into the analysis.
Call the game, the pieces are on the floor.
Like, the beginning of the piece starts off like he would start off really small, because you get these beautiful violins, these longer phrases, and it just flows naturally. And then you get these little flutters of the violin there, just, and you're just kind of feeling this lightness. But then he just comes in on this mezzo forte, medium loud belt, and it's not the most powerful thing, obviously, but it's a lot more powerful than I expected the vocal line to be as the first note of the piece. You know, I probably would have expected something like a da, just something lighter, a little bit more velvety, a little bit more sensitive. But nah, he just has this grounding presence on that first note. It immediately establishes that tone, does it not?
No winners anymore. Out of time.
Yeah, I'm sorry for pausing again so soon, but just listen to how he's so soft here. That first note was so well establishing, grounded, and powerful, and then throughout the rest of the cadence, he just progressively becomes lighter, but it doesn't lose that energy, which is so, so critical to establishing the tonal center of the piece, the energy of the piece, where we feel that energy, and that energy carries through the entire cadence, even though he's progressively getting a little bit more tender and softer throughout that cadence. And it's just so well done, dude.
The pieces are on the floor. No winners anymore. Out of time. We were proud, chasing a starry sky, but dreams couldn't justify our last goodbye. You win some, lose some. Cheer and cry. Who's the winner now? Out of this fight, the winner.
Yeah. something I love about his transition into the chorus here is just the fact that the entire transition felt very natural, very smooth, and he's obviously at a louder dynamic, putting a little bit more of that intensity into the chorus, because it is the chorus. We want that to be a highlight of the piece, but we also know that it's not everything that he has to give, hence giving us more room to grow. But the energy of the piece is still exactly where it needs to be, and the pacing is just exceptional.
No more lines to cross, no races to be run, 'cause now we've lost our crown.
Yeah, just these small little details, just that little slide there. It allows the piece to flow a little bit more, especially when he's doing the bum, bum, bum. It feels like a giant is walking. It doesn't really feel connected. So having that little slide there just gives me that much needed connection of the other notes to where every note has its own stress, which feels very grand, and it makes the piece feel more grandized than, let's say, how another artist may perform it. But here, where he creates those big stresses and creates a disconnect on those notes, he adds that slide on the notes to create a sense of connection between notes within the cadence, while also emphasizing the importance of the stress and individuality of the notes prior. And that's a really nice detail there. Let's listen to that again.
No more lines to cross, no races to be run, 'cause now we've lost our crown. Who's the winner? Heads held high, even when nights were low. We ran with nowhere to go, out of mind. You played your hand, but
You played your hand instead of bum ba-dum. You just get done. Like, he takes his time on the notes while still staying in the meter itself, still staying on the tempo, but actually having a little bit more flexibility on that gives the piece more of a flow, more of a natural flow, instead of just being more musically crisp. And this is something that I love about Erik, is that his music feels genuinely human. In a world where a lot of music is being produced by either AI or a lot more heavily focused on automated qualities, being able to focus on more of a natural flow, more of a human instinct to take just a little bit more time on notes, still staying in the meter, of course, still staying in the tempo, but just having a little bit of that human connection with their audience. It means everything.
out of mind. You played your hand, but all I could do was stall. A draw that would break us all and cross the line. You win some, lose some. Cheer up.
Yeah!
Who's the winner now? Out of this fight, the winner now. Lost in the night. No more lines to cross, no races to be run, 'cause now we've lost our crown.
And you can hear the restraint here, because he could easily just go up and explode into these really powerful, very heavy-hitting notes, but he reels it back because it's not the right time yet. Like, the style reminds me so much of Queen. Freddie also had a very particular vision as to how he wanted to express his music, and Erik is kind of replicating that musical process of, how do I create this energy, maintain this intense atmosphere of boldness, of strength, but also of restraint, while also expressing growth. And to be able to execute that balancing act well takes not just a complete understanding of your voice and what you're presently capable of, but how all the varying elements of the piece, not just yourself, but all of the other musicians as well, how their contributions fall with your leadership. And being able to navigate the nuances of the piece like that is just masterfully done.
Who's the winner now?
just doing the falsetto stuff there. The winner. And then just going into that belt on the last two there. That's great growth. Again, small details like that, and especially compact within these few cadences, but it's so impactful, dude. And then shrink. Yeah.
Who's the winner now?
Yeah, and especially at the end here, where the very ending of the sentence, and I can't say that I'm particularly a fan of when people create a sentence, they stop and then execute the rest of the sentence, even though I understand the intent here. And the intent is to create this very delicate moment. The winner. And just having that be really soft and taper. And then coming back in on now. I think that's so dazzling and so delicate, and it's beautiful. But in order to execute that well, that energy needs to connect all the way through the end. The winner. No. And you just feel that overarching phrase, and that energy just fully connects. And his taper here, I'm sure there's many people in the audience who really do feel that energy here. Even though I don't, that doesn't mean that there aren't people that do. I'm sure many people in his audience would actually feel that overarching connection. And I do recognize that that is his intent here. And I really do respect that approach to it, because again, you have to connect the phrase. And even if the phrase isn't connected by one breath, then it has to be connected by the energy. The winner now. Instead of the winner now kind of thing. So let me hear that again, because maybe I just didn't pick up on it the first time. Yeah, from what I was able to get from that is he uses the instruments themselves to hold on to that energy. And I would much prefer Erik to hold on to that energy, because, yeah, he tapers and he extends the note as long as he can. But the moment he drops out, the instruments kind of have to take over in that way. And the energy from the vocalist, from Erik, is a little bit lost to me. And that's not necessarily a fault of his, but it is more something where it's more of a feeling. A lot of how people interpret and internalize music is heavily subjective. And when I experience music in a way that's unique to me, in the same way that all of you experience music in a way that's unique to you. And we always love being able to appreciate and enjoy artists in a way that we can collectively come together and listen to an artist and feel excitement for an artist, yet we are still experiencing that music in a way that's unique and personal to us. In the same way that a person might hear this exact same tune and not feel the same level of power and emotion and depth that you might feel. And that's perfectly fine, because music is an experience that only we can internalize and do our best to express, even though it's a very emotional experience. So that being said, aside from that minor critique at the end, the piece itself was just so masterfully done and well executed, and Erik did such a great job on this. This was so lovely to listen to. And the pacing of the piece, again, very reminiscent of how Freddie Mercury paces his pieces. There's always a certain strength, a certain aura, a certain atmosphere that he builds and creates this anticipation. And there's always a strength with him, but there's also a level of power that he reserves for himself until he's really ready to let it shine. And the same is true for another artist that didn't perform too well on my channel, but I will say that he is one of my favorite artists as well, Jesse Kinch. He also does an exceptional job pacing his pieces, and honestly, it just comes down to exactly that, which is if you were going to choose a particular style in how you grow your music throughout the piece, how you don't make it stagnant and add your own personal twists on it, you really do need to understand your voice, need to understand the piece you're performing and how you're going to express it and what you want your audience to feel and experience. And that's just wonderful because he does such a great job of that here in starting strong, creating that atmosphere, but growing the piece through the details, not through the macro of the piece itself, but through the micro. And I really do appreciate that. So great job, Erik. This was awesome. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. If y'all liked it, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And if you didn't like it, please leave a dislike and let me know why in the comments. I do read all of the comments, even if I may not heart or reply to them, so please know your comments do not go unnoticed. Again, if you want to see this video and a bunch of other videos early, ad-free, there's a link to my Patreon in the description below. You can join for just a few bucks. I'm also working on a bunch of experimental content as well, such as vlogging. I recently went to Universal Studios and I was able to film a lot over there, and I'm working on that video as well alongside other videos, and those are for my higher tiers. I especially want to thank this amazing person right here for being a part of my highest tier on Patreon. And if you guys would like to be a part of that highest tier, again, there's a link in the description below. Feel free to check that out. But as of right now, I really do want to appreciate all of you guys here on YouTube for being here. It really does mean a lot to me, so thank you so much. And I can't wait to see all of you in the next video. Have a great rest of your evening, everyone.